The first thing the galaxy noticed about humanity's entry into interstellar diplomacy was our taste in vehicles. The Cthras delegation had expected sleek cruisers of shimmering alloys, starships bristling with plasma arrays, elegant grav chariots gliding across docking bays. Instead, what clanked onto the sand-blasted plains of Drawl 4 was a wheel. Not just any wheel, but a behemoth the size of a fortress, painted fire truck red, spewing dust clouds, and screeching like a banshee with rust in its throat. The aliens laughed. To their credit, it was hard not to laugh. The massive machine, a hybrid of tractor, tank, and apocalyptic carnival ride, bounced and rattled like it had been held together by spite and duct tape. Its front cabin had a cracked windshield, its panels were scarred with scratches and improvised welds, and some genius had painted a cheerful smiley face near the engine exhaust that belched soot like a dragon with indigestion. "Behold," sneered Admiral Virakoth of the Cthras, his mandibles clicking in amusement, "the humans arrive at peace talks in a rust bucket." Behind him, the assembled alien dignitaries chittered, hooted, and rattled their appendages in mirth. Some even recorded it, already preparing viral holoclips captioned, "Primitive Species Attempts Diplomacy with Scrap Heap." The machine ground to a halt, dust settling in a golden haze. A hatch creaked open, and out stepped a human. Just one. He wasn't armored. He wasn't armed. He wasn't even particularly imposing, just a man in a faded jacket, dark glasses, and an easy smile. He dusted off his sleeves, adjusted his tie, badly knotted, and offered the assembly a polite little bow. "Good afternoon, esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he said cheerfully, his voice warm and utterly unbothered. "Sorry for the entrance. Parking's terrible out here." Laughter erupted again. Even the stone-faced Virakoth let out a hiss snort. The human didn't mind. He just smiled wider, hands clasped loosely behind his back, like a schoolteacher about to explain why detention existed. Curiosity turned into sport. For the first few days, aliens swarmed around the human rust bucket, poking, prodding, filming documentaries with mocking titles. Junk of Earth, the last gasp of a primitive world. Engineers giggled over its crude gears and clumsy hydraulics. Military analysts scoffed at the exposed wiring, the lack of shielding, the glaring weaknesses. "This isn't a war machine," said High Tactician Zrith, laughing so hard his tendrils shook. "It's a farm implement." The human just nodded politely. "Oh, absolutely. You're right." "Then why bring it to a peace summit?" demanded another alien, voice dripping condescension. The human adjusted his glasses. "Because sometimes," he said gently, "the best way to explain peace is to bring the loudest reminder of war." No one understood what he meant. They just laughed harder. But the laughter began to falter on the second week. During a routine demonstration, the rust bucket rolled forward, grinding over a stretch of desert. The ground quaked. Sand geysers erupted. Instruments spiked with readings that made no sense. "Surely coincidence," muttered Zrith, though his tentacles twitched nervously. On the third week, when a group of alien soldiers tried to test the machine's durability by firing practice rounds at it, the shot sparked uselessly off its scarred plates. The human waved apologetically. "Sorry," he called. "She doesn't like being poked. Best not to make her cranky." The soldiers thought he was joking. Until one tripped and his rifle discharged accidentally. The rust bucket's massive wheel shifted, seemingly on its own, and a sand dune 3 miles away exploded into a crater. No weapon discharge was detected. No projectile. Just force. The laughter stopped. "Explain this," Admiral VRR Koth growled, mandibles grinding, cornering the human later that evening. The human sipped from a battered thermos, completely unfazed. "She's old," he admitted. "Built from parts we had lying around. Runs on a mix of fuel, stubbornness, and a bit of quantum cheating. Honestly, I wasn't sure she'd hold up all the way here." He tapped the rusted hull affectionately. "But she's a tough girl. This machine, this abomination, is a weapon?" "Oh no, Admiral." The human smiled warmly. "She's a prototype." The galaxy had underestimated humanity before. Small, fragile mammals. Limited fleets. A homeworld still scarred from climate recovery. But this was different. The rust bucket was a joke that wouldn't stop laughing back. Wherever it rolled, sensors glitched, skies rippled, ground cracked. Entire mountain ranges were flattened as if the earth itself flinched away. Rumors spread fast. Whispers turned to fear. Alien fleets quietly repositioned, wary of being accidentally rolled over. Civilizations that had dismissed Earth as a backwater started treating human envoys with polite, nervous deference. And through it all, the human tactician remained disarmingly polite. Always smiling, always bowing, always sipping tea as if this was all terribly civilized. The climax came during the Empire's show of force. The Kthras brought their armada, hundreds of ships blotting out the desert sky, determined to end the humiliation once and for all. VRR Koth stood before the human and sneered, "Do you really believe this? Relic can stand against the might of an empire?" The human considered this thoughtfully. "Oh, heavens no." VRR Koth leaned forward, victorious. "She's not meant to stand against an empire," the human continued softly. "She's meant to roll through one." And then the wheel moved. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just steady, relentless momentum. Sand turned to glass under its crushing weight. Ships fired, beams lancing the air, only to twist harmlessly aside as if physics itself didn't dare interfere. Shields failed. Hulls bent. Entire battleships were crumpled like tin cans beneath the grinding mass of the machine. The armada panicked. Retreat became chaos. In less than an hour, the desert was silent again, littered with the broken carcasses of ships that had once terrorized the stars. The human dusted his jacket. "Well," he said kindly, "I think that concludes today's demonstration." The galaxy would never laugh at humanity again. From that day forward, whispers followed Earth's diplomats. Be polite to the humans. Don't mock their machines. Don't test their patience. Because somewhere, hidden in a desert or buried under mountains, might be another rust bucket. And if one rust bucket could flatten an empire, how many more were there? The answer was never given. Humanity just smiled, poured another cup of tea, and changed the subject. But the real twist was this. The machine wasn't humanity's weapon. It was humanity's warning. The tactician finally admitted it, months later, in a private conversation with a trembling ambassador. "Truth is," he said, lowering his voice conspiratorially, "we built her out of scrap. Just a proof of concept. If a prototype can scare the galaxy this much," he grinned, eyes glinting behind his glasses, "imagine what we've been building on purpose." And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, learned the meaning of silence.